Hi, everyone, and welcome to Transitions on Hunters Bay Radio. Today we're broadcasting at the Satellite Studio at Nipissing University in Bracebridge. My name is Anne Wagner. I'm your host, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming Stacey Schatt from the YWCA. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
So, Stacey, maybe you could tell us a little bit about your role as the Youth Program Coordinator at the Muskoka Y.
Absolutely. So it's a new role for me. I'm delighted to have started this role in August. I've been facilitating with the YWCA for 4 years, and now I'm full-time in this position. And basically my job is to create, organize, and implement programs for the youth of Muskoka. So there's a few different programs that we run, Girlz Unplugged in the schools, Girls' Choice in the high school, and then we have a Boys Quest program, a grade 5-6, a grade 7-8, and a grade 9-10 program. And above and beyond that, I work with many different organizations to just talk about the well-being of our youth in Muskoka, and we work together collaboratively to organize conferences or, try to find ways to get them engaged.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as you know, in the Transitions program, we're certainly interested in talking about the well-being of children and youth. And I read on the Y website that the focus is on building confidence and healthy self-esteem in children and youth. Could you tell us a little more about the programs you mentioned that are focused on children?
Absolutely. So in both the Boys Quest and the Girls Unplugged program, we start with building self-esteem because oftentimes we are so wonderful at naming the things we're not good at as opposed to celebrating the things we are good at. So especially in Girls Unplugged, the first 3 weeks deals with celebrating self. So we do a lot of affirmation work. So we would make posters that would say, you are beautiful, you are smart, and we encourage the girls to hang them places where they can look at them and internalize that message. We also talk about what makes them a good friend. And it's very interesting to watch. You go into some schools and the girls can name their strengths. And in other schools, it's almost shameful for them to name what it is they're good at. So for some reason in this society, we haven't been encouraged to celebrate our strengths. So we work as a group to get there. Oftentimes we point out each other's strengths, and once we get to a place where we believe that we are as awesome as we are, then we can move forward and discover more stuff about ourselves and how to form healthy relationships based on knowing yourself more.
So could you maybe give us an idea of what are some of the activities that girls might do while they're in the Girls Unplugged program?
Absolutely. So we have one activity called Power Flower, and what it explores is your personality traits. So we have a poster that we give them, and it lists all different colors and personality traits assigned to the colors. And then they are to make a flower based on 3 colors that most describe themselves. So they actually get to decide, am I compassionate? Am I strong? Am I graceful? Am I articulate? Am I logical? Am I a decision-based person? And then they present the flower to the group and explain how this represents themselves.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And so how long has the Girls Unplugged program been around?
Well, we've been doing Girls program since the very start of the YWCA's conception in 1998, but formally we became Girls Unplugged in 2003. We sort of branded ourselves that. But girls programming with the self-esteem has been going on from the very beginning. And we are currently in every elementary school in Muskoka.
In every school?
Every school. So we even go... we even do some work with Moose Deer Point with their girls, and we also go to Honey Harbor. Although we can't do our 12-week program at Honey Harbor, we do 1 day a year where we work with the boys and the girls.
So it sounds like you've become a very integral part of the school system and the community.
Absolutely. And I believe that the schools are now coming to us. We've had amazing champions in the school board and in the individual schools, and they come to us when they have a group of children in need of some way. If they need to learn how to form a healthy relationship, if they're having peer issues, if they need to learn healthy coping and stress management skills. And so they will make these groups up, and we come in and we do 12 weeks with them. And we are in really close contact with our school contacts, whether it's the principal, to talk about how we can help these girls, or in the Boys Quest, boys succeed.
So that answers another one of my questions I was thinking about was how do you recruit or how are girls invited to join?
Right. So every school is different. A lot of schools actually do referral. So they ask girls or boys to join who need some support. Sometimes they are leadership students sort of waiting to sort of grow, and sometimes they're experiencing crisis in their life. Oftentimes, it's the kids can refer themselves, and then they form a group that way. Sometimes parents put in a request if they know their child is really in need. So every school's a little different.
And so all of the programs then are school-based, are they?
Right. So we go in during their nutrition break and their recess. So we go once a week for 12 weeks, and usually we have 40 to 45 minutes, depending on how long the recess is at each school.
Okay. And you mentioned the Boys Quest. Now, that seems a little more unusual given that it's the YWCA. I'm just wondering if you could tell us how that came to evolve.
Absolutely. And it is quite cutting edge. Basically, we feel that we're a women's advocacy agency, and we want to create healthy, thriving women. And one of the ways to do that is to help men thrive also, because men have relationships with women, whether they are in a romantic relationship or they're raising a female or they have a sister or a mother. So healthy men also can help make healthy women. And it was a real need in Muskoka for programs for boys that were not sports-based or a chess club. And we were asked by Erica Scala-Black, she was currently the principal at BPS at the time, to come in and do some programming for a group of boys she had. A group of boys that she found were leading in a negative way, not a nice way. And so that started this first program, and then we received funding. We thought, I think we've got something here. And we received 5 years of funding from the National Crime Prevention Coalition. And it's a government agency that looks at how we can help boys thrive and limit crime. It's basically a crime prevention program by teaching boys emotional intelligence, life skills, stress management, and coping skills. And from that, it grew. And we were in every single school, again, in Muskoka. And we also created a high school boys program, which I happened to be lucky enough to be part of the pilot for. And it was groundbreaking and really inspirational to be with boys at a time of transition in their lives when they're going into high school, and it's so easy to get lost. And
Absolutely.
Here we had an opportunity to spend an hour and a half with them for 10 weeks to just talk about how they can create the life they want for themselves. So it's been wonderful to watch the program grow.
And it sounds like you've really hit on an area that we don't often talk about collectively as a society, as a community, the emotional needs of our boys.
Absolutely. And I talk to the boys in our program all the time about what they're being fed through the media, right? They're taught to be strong. They're taught to man up, to not cry, and how that impacts them from relating to their true emotional state. And it's amazing, a lot of boys don't realize the messages they're being fed through video games and movies and music and things like that.
So would that be part of the discussion in the group?
Absolutely. We show them videos. We talk about music lyrics. And then we also talk about gender roles. And a lot of boys talk about what they see in their home and what they've been taught compared to how they actually feel. So, and often there's a very big difference about how they want to be and how they've been taught to be.
And I'm interested in that you're engaging high school age boys. We tend to think of them oftentimes as a bit detached, not wanting to engage. So you found ways around that.
Oh, I find them quite the opposite. I find them very engageable. I feel like there's something about that age range where they suddenly have an awareness that there's a better life out there for them and that they have control over their path and their journey. And so they're really curious and they're really interested to learn skills that in many cases they weren't taught at home.
And also read critically the messages they're getting from outside.
Absolutely. Their mind is just going at such a pace, right? And so they're processing a lot, and they're very engaged in the process.
Well, this sounds most intriguing. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Stacey Schatt. Welcome back to Transitions. I'm talking today with Stacey Schatt. And Stacey, you were telling us about the Boys Quest program and how you span the age range. You have programs both for children and high school age males.
That's right, yes. We decided that it was important in all ages. Every age experiences a transition, right? So we, as the funding has rolled out for the 5-year funding that we received for Boys Quest, we started with the grade 5-6 program, then created curriculum for a grade 7-8 program, and then implemented the grade 9-10 program.
So could you tell us a little bit about some of the activities maybe that the boys get involved with?
Sure. So an example we do is to focus on healthy relationships and unhealthy relationships. So what we would do is we would create a web of relationships, and we use Smarties. And every color of Smartie is a different relationship in their life. Their mom, their dad, their grandparents, their teachers, their friends, and so on. And then they are the red Smartie. So we asked them to put the red Smartie in the middle of the page, and then to put all the rest of the Smarties wherever on the page feels right to them, based on the relationship they have with those people in their lives. And it is fascinating to watch the web appear. So some people have really close relationships with their parents. Some parents are off the page and not even in their life. Some have lots of support systems of friends. Some put their friends at a distance because they don't really feel like they've connected with someone. And then I always have an other. The brown Smartie is the other, and that's very telling, whether other is an aunt, a godparent, or perhaps their pet. And oftentimes, when it's a pet, it is the closest one to them. And so from that, we can talk about what makes a relationship healthy, how you would like your web to change, and gives us an idea of what the boys are dealing with, or the girls for that matter, in their home life.
Right. And is that something that you would do across the age groups?
We would do it with the older age groups.
Okay.
So we would do it in the grade 7-8 curriculum for the boys and in the high school programs. In the younger grades, we would do something called Am I Ready?, which is we would put cards that have ages from never to 1 all the way to 21, and then we hand out cue cards, and they say things like smoke, drink, get married, get a tattoo, kiss, use the stove by yourself. And then the youth would put that at the age they feel is appropriate. And we talk about why is that an appropriate or inappropriate age to do things.
Sounds like you have a lot of creative strategies to get them talking.
Absolutely. We do a lot of hands-on and kinesthetic and art-based activities to keep them engaged. And we always have food.
Oh, very important. That works here at Nipissing too. And so then I'm just wondering, how do you fund all these programs?
That's a great question. So we don't have any core government funding. So every year we're trying to find funding. We have been really blessed to have some grants that have been so supportive. So the Canadian Women's Foundation has been very supportive of our Girlz Unplugged program. We have one more year of their funding, and then we will be looking to replenish that. The Kenny Family Foundation has also been funding our girls' programs for years, very generous. And the boys' program, so we had the 5 years of funding for from the National Crime Prevention Coalition, and then it ended. And we've had great many requests to be back in the school for the Boys Quest programs, but we haven't been able to be back in every school. So we have been very blessed to receive 1 year of funding from Muskoka Futures. And they are funding the high school Boys Quest in all 4 of the Muskoka high schools. And then Rotary clubs and Lions clubs have also been helping to fund us in individual communities. So Boys Quest is happening at Bracebridge Public because of the Rotary, and we're also in Glen Orchard Public School because the Lions group funded us and saw the value of having us in their school. So we're also hoping to continue with that program.
So you really are heavily reliant on donations then?
Absolutely. And the programs themselves is we ask for a $25 fee, but many, many children don't pay. We don't want the cost to hinder their involvement at all. So we just want them there and learning and thriving and growing.
Right. And so you had mentioned that these are all school-based programs. So are families aware that these programs exist? Can they refer their child, or is it more teachers that do that?
It can absolutely be both. If you are a parent that thinks this program is right for your child, you would contact the principal of the school and let them know that. And oftentimes your child will be accepted into it, but it's important to know that sometimes there's a greater issue going on at the school, and the groups might be formed around youth that might be in a bit more crisis or a bit more need. But absolutely, parent requests are really important. And the other thing that we do is we have an e-news, a monthly e-news that we send out saying what schools we're in. Right now, we also run summer camps, and they are for girls only from ages 9 to 16. There's 2 different ones, and that also works on leadership, self-esteem building, and things like that.
That sounds wonderful. And so what sort of feedback do you get about these programs? What do participants and people, maybe people who are in the children's lives, say to you about the program?
Well, it's interesting that you ask about the people in the children's lives, because we hear from the children directly themselves the importance of the program. We often hear that it is a safe place. It is a place where they can go to speak their mind and not be judged, a place where they can just be themselves, where they have fun and they feel accepted and they realize that other people are like them. Oftentimes we live in a world of isolation, feeling like everything's sort of happening to us or feeling scared about the future. And this is a group where you get to share that with each other. And we've also had amazing parent feedback where parents have said, my child is fighting less with their siblings. They are able to control their anger or their stress. They've developed healthy coping skills, things like that.
So when I'm listening to you talk about the programs, they sound to me like they're really fundamentally important.
Absolutely. I was a classroom teacher for 5 years. I taught grade 4. And I ended up leaving because for me, emotional intelligence is the most important part of a child to be nurtured. Yes, we need to read and write and do math, but if you don't have a child who is secure and feels good about themselves, it's really hard to do all those things. So I really feel that this is fundamental to our youth success.
And so then there seems to be a disconnection between the fact that you're reliant on donations, you don't have secure funding. Is the school involved in supporting these programs financially in any way?
Generally, no. There's so many other things the schools have to pay for, and budgets get smaller every year for the school boards, right? So they are absolutely supportive in their time and effort and in-kind donations, using of their space, the organizing of all the permission slips that come in and things like that. They are so generous with their time and energy. But financially, I just don't think it's in their means, unfortunately.
Right. So do you maybe have any thoughts on the importance of ensuring that these sources of support continue to be available to our children and youth?
Absolutely. I think that every parent listening out there knows that, what they want is a happy child who has great self-esteem and who's excited for their future, right? So we just keep trying to raise awareness of what we're doing at the YWCA, and the community is so generous, and we just keep plugging away, applying for grants and talking to people about what we're doing, and we just trust. I just trust that it's going to come together, because I think it needs to, for the sake of our community.
And just one other thought comes to mind, since you're so knowledgeable in this area. I'm wondering, for those of us that have children in our lives, either friends, relatives, our own children, do you have any ideas about what we can do to build on these skills that you're instilling in young people?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think a couple of things is to really listen to what your youth has to say. Our lives are so busy that sometimes we don't actually get to listen to their thoughts and opinions on things. So I think that's a start. And I think talking to your child about what they are wonderful at. And perhaps every day saying, what was the highlight of your day? How were you a good friend today? And if you get into practicing that every day, then hopefully you can internalize that.
That's an excellent point. That just makes me think how the atmosphere in many homes would change if we took that to heart.
Absolutely.
Well, we're just about to wrap up, but I just wanted to ask you, are there any other thoughts you'd like to share with us?
No, I'm just very grateful to be here, and I just think that this is a complex time for our youth to be growing up right now. And I think that as a community, we all have a role in supporting a youth, and yes, so we ask for your help in doing that.
Well, that's wonderful. I can't improve on that. Thank you so much for coming in, Stacey.
My pleasure.
It's been wonderful. And if you have any questions or comments about our show, you can reach us by email at transitions@hbr@gmail.com. That's transitions@hbr@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next week.